could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we meet Nico Lagan. He is a coach, a podcast host, an author, and a mentor. Hello, Nico. Nico, thank you for
Hey,
joining us today.
thanks for having me, Anna.
Yes. So let's start a conversation with diving into your story of becoming the person you are today. What led you to discover your true passion in life? How did it start for you?
You know, it all started when my parents got divorced. I was 14 years old, and my dad pretty much left afterwards. I saw him a handful of time before he died, and I think I was 30 when he died. So in the next 16 years, I barely saw him. But him leaving kind of left a hole, because as a young man, we look for mentors, we look for people to guide us, for people to show us what it is to be a man. And yeah, I did not have that growing up. So it kind of left me in a weird situation where for the next 7 years, I did a lot of I didn't do the smartest things. Let's say that I became a drug addict. I became an alcoholic. I sold drugs I quit school. I was 15 years old. I moved out by myself. I was 17. And so for the longest time, I was on a very bad path until at the beginning of my 20s, I figured out that I was the problem. I needed to do better. And yeah, over the years, especially over the past 10 years, I really started focusing on what it takes to be a good man today. And now I want to help young men become good men and good men become great men. So this is where the passion comes from.
Wow, yeah, it was a long journey for you to kind of experience different points of your life where it was hard with addiction and just choosing the wrong decisions at the moment. But then eventually the main, switch when you realize that this is not who you are and you have to do something about it. So I think like first comes self-awareness and for you realizing that you can coach young men who who are in the shoes that you've been not so long ago, and you know how what it feels like, and you know the way out. And that's important to have that mentor, to have that role model in front of you who you can
Yep.
follow. And
100%.
yeah, and I just want to know your definition of being a great man.
Well, let's first say that definition of a good man is I've used when it comes to, so I believe that a good man is a protector. He must own the skills to protect his family. He must be a provider. He must be ready to give his family what they need in a very selfless way, put the priorities of his family prior to his own. He needs to have courage to go after what he wants. He needs to have temperance, so self-control, control over his emotion. And he needs to have faith in himself, faith in others, and faith in something greater than us all. That to me is a good man. Now, to become a great man, you need to go after what I like to call your personal legend. So your purpose, your reason for being on this planet Earth. And this compared to becoming a good man where you become selfless. To become a great man, you need to become selfish because you need to think about yourself. But the irony is that in order to once you become selfless or selfish, should I say, it's only to help you become a better man. So become more selfless in the future. So it's only a temporary state. But as a man, in my opinion, we need to be selfless. We need to be able to think about others and we need to provide. This is our main responsibility, if you ask me.
Yes, and some people, they don't know what to focus on, especially like young men. They've been distracted with all of what's happened in the world, and And once their focus is lost, they kind of stuck in what they're doing. So they need somebody to help them refocus to get to that direction where they could thrive and, transition from being a good man to a great man. And what do you think, like right now, young people could start with in terms of, I would say, daily habits that they can incorporate every day and start doing it now and maybe see the results as a long term?
I'm going to say something that people don't like to hear. I was just recording a video that I'm going to release in a couple hours exactly on that question. And, I grew up with a single mother, and a mother cannot teach a young man how to become a man or teach a boy how to become a man. In the same way as I'm a man, I cannot teach a young girl how to become a woman. But it is the responsibility of the mother, if no father is present for whatever reason, to find a mentor, to find a good man, to find somebody for her son to look up to, or else he will start looking for himself. That's what I did. And we know how that goes. Normally, if I don't know what a good man is, believe me, you won't look at the right places. You're going to look in all the wrong places. So first, I think the responsibility falls onto the mother. If there's no good man, it's up to her to find somebody for her son to look up to. Hopefully today, thankfully, I should say today, there's a lot more resources online. Like, you don't necessarily have to have somebody in your life, although I would suggest that that's the best avenue. But there's a lot of, look at a guy like Steve Harvey. He does videos on this all the time where he has young men on his show, and they talk exactly about that because he see there's a problematic. But my biggest, if I can give what changed my life, what made me want to become a good man, was martial arts. I was bullied as a kid. I did nothing. Like, I just took it. I was a victim. I let it ruin my life for a long time, and it stays in the back of your head. But once I became changing my life at the beginning of my 20s, I asked myself, I'm like, what do I choose? Do I stay a victim my whole life, or do I find a solution? Do I take responsibility for what I can change and learn how to defend myself? Through martial art, I've met some of the greatest men I've ever met, some of the greatest mentors I've ever met. Most of those martial artists come from a hard background. That's why they learned martial arts in the first place. So they can really help young men, especially in their, like, what we call teenagers today. If no father figure is present, as a single mother out there, send your son to a martial arts school, find him a good coach. He will teach him discipline. He will teach him courage. He will teach him what it is to fail. He will teach him what it is to be coachable, what it is to listen to somebody else. He's going to be surrounded by other men or other young men. And the beautiful thing about martial art is once you're on those mats, it doesn't matter what you do. I've had the chance to train with world champions. I've had the chance to train with business owners, with people that mop floors for a living. And on the mats, it doesn't matter. Everybody's there to help others. And it creates such a team that as men we strive for. We want to belong. We want to be part of something greater, and we want to have people there to help us. So martial art by far is the best thing a young man can do.
Right. And like you said, it teaches a lot of good qualities and skills that we should be acquiring in daily life. So that's something could be taught through going to martial arts. And you also the trainer of Muay Thai, is that right?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So I know I've been in it for 20 years, and I can tell you that I like to say martial art has forged me. It made me the man I am today. No questions about it. Everything started there, and then it evolved into what I am today. But the first steps were taken when I decided to go to a martial arts school and try to better myself.
Right. And that also a good way to train your body as well as your mind. So it's a
Yeah.
combination of both.
And spiritually too. Unfortunately, this is my biggest grief with a lot of the martial arts in the West. We don't connect spirituality to martial art. Yet, if you go to Thailand, Buddhism is the main, I don't like to use religion, but it is the main religion down there. So it is assumed that people follow Buddhism. So it's not taught specifically, but the culture believes in it. I believe that this should be brought here. Like, I like to meditate, I like to do introspection, and I believe that it should be incorporated into martial art training. Because as you said, martial art is great for your body. It's great for your mind, for you to understand how strong you actually are. And then spirituality connects your body to your mind. You understand that there is a connection there, and without a strong body, you'll never be able to have a strong mind. Without a strong mind, you'll never have the strong body that you should have. So the two are connected. And yeah, I believe this should be included, but that's just me complaining because nothing's perfect in life, right?
Yeah, there is no time to complain. Like you said, we take responsibility.
Yep.
For who we are, for what we have. So
Yep.
everything around you is of your own creation. And once we own that, then we take power. Then we know that we can change. So without us accepting that reality, as we say, then like what's next? So we need to realize that we are the only ones
Yep.
who are responsible for our choices. And I think a lot of times we try to blame others
Oh, yes.
for all the reasons, problems. And then again, like with knowing that if it's your responsibility, then you can change it.
You know, I interact with people because I'm very upfront on the content that I put online, and a lot of people don't like the way I say it. But this is a conversation I have on a daily basis with multiple people every day. I've put a video a couple of days ago that's talking about how important it is to choose a right partner. So for a man, how it is your responsibility to find a good woman that her values align with yours. Yes, there's not a lot of them, but it is still your responsibility to find one. And people like to complain, oh yeah, but it's because of this, it's because no, bro, it's you. If you want a good partner, it is up to you to find her. If you want to attract a great partner, make sure that you become one as well, because it's all about what you bring to the equation. But on a daily basis, people argue with me that it's not their responsibility. I could have decided to blame my mother. I could have decided to blame my dad for leaving. But yet, what would have changed? At the end of the day, what does that change? Nothing, absolutely nothing. I cannot change the cards I was given, but I can change the way I play with them, though.
Right.
So it's all about that. And everybody tells me, oh yeah, but there's so many influences in their life, like society, this and that. But at the end of the day, life is easy. Life is not easy. Life is simple. Life is not complicated. We only make it complicated because we don't want to admit that it is our fault. We don't want to look in the mirror and say, the problem is right there looking back at me. But it's easier, as you said, so much easier to point fingers at external sources and say, those are the people responsible. Those are why I'm like that. It's not surprising that our society is in the state that it is today because we don't take ownership of our problems.
Right. And then it also leads to problems piling on top of problems, and nobody is responsible for who has created that problem in the first place.
Of course not. Of course not.
When we look in the past at certain events that happened to us, we should look from a different point of view, because if we are gonna resent that, like if we're not gonna accept that as part of our development in the process, then we won't be able to move forward. So we need to release that kind of hold on that past and accept it, because without it, you wouldn't be here today. Maybe it's meant to be. Maybe you should have got that lesson, or, realized something at the point. So maybe it wasn't just, random. It was on purpose. And with you knowing that, also it helps you to not being stuck in the past, but looking forward, knowing that you can still become better. You can thrive for more, to grow.
It's, the day I realized that there's only three things I control. I control my emotions, I control my actions, and I control my reactions. Outside of those three things, I don't control anything. As soon as I realized that, it put everything back into perspective, because why would I complain? Why would I always look for somebody else to help me when every single answer to the questions that I might have are right there within me? They say that we are the universe, we are a direct reflection of the universe. So you want to understand the world, understand yourself first. But that means you're going to have to face all the bad things that you've done, because at the end of the day, you might not be a good person. Like, this is another thing why people don't take ownership, because they know deep down that they're not the best of person, that they could do better. And this is a hard slap to accept, to look at yourself and say, you know what, you've been wrong many times, you've done a lot of stuff that you shouldn't have done, but it's okay. Again, I've done a lot of mistakes, and I guarantee you one thing, I'll make some more. It's for sure that I will do more mistakes, but I will always own those mistakes.
Yes, and also those are not mistakes. Maybe it's just for you to kind of look in a different direction. So it's sometimes we'll label things as being positive or negative, but we don't know the meaning behind all of that. It also helps you to like redirect yourself or find the solution. And also with us kind of looking into ourselves and being ready to face who we are and accept for what we are, and kind of be compassionate to ourselves, be kind, because a lot of times we're being very harsh, and even like words that we could be like to another human being, very we sometimes putting ourselves down. So we should be able to kind of understand that at that point of time, that was your decision, but it's okay. You don't have to be worried about it. You don't have to feel guilty or shame about it. It's okay. It happened, but we can move on. And then with that, us allowing ourselves to get better, to really like help ourselves to become healthy, mostly mentally healthy, and then it translates physical as well. We should be able to focus on what matters and how to help ourselves out, and also not being afraid to ask for help, not feeling weak. Like sometimes people feel it's a sign of weakness to, search for help or even admit that I have it. And a lot of times young men, they could look into some kind of addiction, like substance or anything that could, distract them from it. And what would be your advice for them if they feel this way? What could be the, something that they can look into or kind of refocus at that moment when they feel at their low?
It always depends on the age of the person, because I could tell somebody to meditate, I could tell somebody to do some introspection work, but you would have asked me to do that at 15 years old, I would have never listened to you. So this is why I think that the best thing a young man do is find mentors, is surround himself with people that he look up to, because as you are surrounded by better people than yourself, you will tend to want to duplicate what they're doing or what they've done in order to get there. This is why I think that martial art for me is the number one thing. Any young man out there that doesn't know what to do, that doesn't feel that they have a purpose, that doesn't feel that they belong, join a martial arts school. Suck it up. Yes, it's scary. Yes, you're going to meet some killers out there, because there are some beasts in those mats. But one thing I can guarantee you is in 20 years, I can probably count on one single hand the amount of bad people that I've met in those gyms. Obviously, you meet people you don't like, they're not your type of person, but that doesn't make them a bad person. It's just it is the best thing. It is the number one thing a young man can do. Just surround yourself by good men, and what better place than in a martial art gym to actually find them if you don't know where to look.
Right. Yeah. So martial arts, it goes a long way, like we said, for both body and mind, and also help you develop those skills like emotional intelligence.
Oh yes.
This is
Oh
something
yes.
been, brought up lately a lot, and I feel like this is more important than IQ, EQ. What are your thoughts on that?
It is, this is why. So I describe the fourth virtue. My fourth virtue of a good man is to have temperance, is to have self-control. And if there's something that taught me about myself at martial art, if there's something that taught me that put my ego in check, like we like to say, to teach me that I will fail, it's martial arts. So once you start understanding what you're actually made of, you can start understanding what you actually are. Once you start understanding what you are, you can start asking questions like, what does matter to me? What am I all about? And this is when you start understanding all those emotions that are always flooding you, because it's easy to react. It's easy to feel a certain way and to simply go with it, to not even question it. Just, you feel a certain way, this is how I react, without the capacity of stepping back, without the capacity of just realizing, okay, hold on, what's going on right now? Instead of simply reacting, learn how to step back. I learned to step back through meditation. Would a 15-year-old start meditating? Probably not. But could he be introduced to meditation to do it at the end of my classes? We used to sit down, and even if it's just for 5 minutes, you still learn to just stay there with your thoughts, to what it feels like to be at peace, what it feels like to be normal, so that the next time you're losing your cool, or you're feeling yourself losing your cool, you can catch yourself and say, okay, hold on, what's going on here? Before I react, I know that I'm not feeling normal right now. What's going on? Try to assess the situation. This is why I always kick it back to martial art. I really, really think that it is when you lack the tools to learn about yourself, or you lack the tools to have somebody to help you, go to martial art. That's what it's all about. It's all about learning. Martial art is about bettering yourself, as you said, both physically, mentally, spiritually. And if you are to become a good protector for your future family, you need to learn how to defend yourself. So martial art helps you in so many aspects of your life, both right now and in the future, that I don't think that there's a better activity out there that a young man can do.
Right. Yeah, and we also teach ourselves patience and seeing, like you mentioned failure, but usually like we look at failure as like a hard stop, then we're afraid to move forward. We need to look at it as more of a process of becoming successful. So it is just part of the process. It doesn't mean that once you fail, you should stop. Like it's the opposite. It should even give you more fuel, more, because you know that if you continue doing it, you will succeed, and it's just inevitable.
The thing is, I couldn't agree with you more. You're absolutely right. The problem that most people lack is the purpose, is to understanding why they're doing something. And this is the biggest issue. Like if you look at New Year's resolutions, 90% of people that take New Year resolution never actually, it's 91% to be exact, but now 9 out of 10 people don't achieve their resolution. And this is not within a year. This happens extremely fast. Like more than a half is within a couple of weeks. So if we don't have purpose, it's hard to stick to something. But we need to understand what the point is. This is why when I'm saying that sending a young man to a martial arts school with the understanding that you will teach him something. Because as you said, failure should not be a stop sign. On the contrary, it should be a learning lesson. It should be a learning situation where you can assess, okay, this is what happened. What happened? Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? Why did I end up here? So that the next time you don't do it again. Because it's not a mistake if you learn something about it. This is the end goal. It's always how you perceive things. If you take things as a learning lesson, there's no failures out there. There's only temporary stops or slow down where you need to reassess, you need to pivot and find what the real, how to achieve the goal that you set for yourself.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you. You just always needs to be adaptable and kind of like resetting these goals.
100%.
That's in our mind. We think, okay, once we put that goal into perspective, we should stick with it. But what if something changes along the way? Are we ready to be adaptable and be able to flex, all of that stuff that we kind of like draw in the picture? So what are your thoughts on setting goals and, going after them?
I have a different mindset when it comes to that. I don't, a lot of the techniques out there, they concentrate on the how. Once you identified what you want, a lot of the people concentrate on all the little steps and having all the tiny, everything figured out in order to get there, which is ironic because if you set yourself a goal, you don't know how to get there. So why are you focusing on something that you have no idea how to do instead of focusing on the end goal itself? The techniques that I like to use are self-hypnosis. I'm a big fan of the way I see it. Every year I set goals. The way I set my goals is I define what my goal is. I define what the objective is. You need an objective that it's tangible. So often my goals are money. The goal itself is not money, but money buys me something or gives me freedom, for example, like the life I'm living right now. Last year, my goal was to live the life that I'm living right now. How do I achieve that? By having a specific amount of money that I can survive for a specific amount of time. So that was my goal. So once you understand what your goal is, you need to define what are the steps or what are you ready to do for those? How do you think you're going to achieve it? Is it by saving money? Is it by investing it? Is it by buying properties and selling them back? Like however you decide to achieve that goal, you need to define that. And then the last part is to say what you're ready to sacrifice, because nothing comes for free. If you want something, you're going to have to give something in return. It could be time, it could be money, it could be whatever it might be. So you need to know what your goal is, and it needs to be tangible. You need to know how you're going to accomplish in a way that this is what I think I'm going to do. Then you have to figure out what you're ready to actually give out, to give away, to sacrifice for it. Once you have that, you write it in a very 3-4 sentence text, and you repeat it to yourself first thing in the morning, first thing before, like last thing before going to bed. And I've been doing this for years. And as soon as you start putting it out there, as soon your mind is connected, your conscious mind is connected to your unconscious mind. Why not use your unconscious mind to do all the little automatic things that it already does for you? Why not just add your goals into it and have it figure out how to do it? I strongly believe that if you put what you want out there and the way you're going to achieve it and what it takes to get there, the universe will work with you. I've met so many people on my over the past few years that I know that there's no such thing as coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. Every person you meet has a reason to be in your life. It's up to you to figure out why. But the only times we don't understand that is if, again, we don't own it. We don't, okay, why is that person in my life? Am I supposed to do something for them? Are they going to help me with something? Is it mutual? What is it? But the universe has, for the people that are ready to do the work, for the people that put it out there, for the people that have faith in themselves, others, and the universe, you'll see that your goals tend to happen and not happen in the way you thought they would. It never does. It's always something happens. You're like, wow, how did that ever happen? It's because you put it out there, you ask for it, and you're ready to sacrifice for what you want. So the universe will work for you.
Right. And yeah, like you said, sometimes it comes in surprising ways, but sometimes even like more than you expected and better. And you kind of like think, oh, how genius was that? I would never come
Yep.
up with that solution. So my
Yep.
solution was even worse that it would happen, right? So we, like you said, should have that faith that there's something else working on our behalf
Absolutely.
if we believe in that and we know that it works and we're doing certain steps from our part to be part of something bigger.
100%. I couldn't agree. Because, you know, faith is a hard word today because everybody associate, at least in North America, people associate faith with religion. But when you break it down, faith in yourself, how are you going to build confidence in yourself if you don't first have faith that you can do it? You need to believe in yourself. That's all faith is to believe. So I have faith in my capacity. As I start achieving my goals, I will build confidence. How am I going to build trust in somebody else if I don't first have faith that they are the person they say they are? And how am I supposed to achieve my goals, achieve my purpose, find out why I was put on this earth if I don't believe that there's something greater that put me here on purpose, that there's a reason why I'm here?
Right. Yes, everything is connected, and we should look at the bigger picture as being as puzzle in that picture, and that will give us more, I guess, hint that what's coming. And
Agreed.
yes, I'm glad that we had that conversation. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and thoughts. It was a pleasure
Absolutely.
talking to you, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.